Remember when an album cover was a work of art? When you'd stare at it for hours, wondering what these people were really like? These photos answer that question. They show you the faces behind the music, unguarded, unposed, and real. This is the stuff we dreamed about seeing back then, and now, finally, we can. The Ox and the Loon, 1967. While John Entwistle was the quiet one on stage, offstage, he was Keith Moon's main partner in crime. Together, they were the A-Team of Hotel Destruction, leaving a trail of mayhem across the globe. Two legends in the best of friends. Their bond was so strong, it survived even after Eric Clapton married George Harrison's ex-wife, Pattie Boyd. George attended the wedding and jokingly started calling himself Eric's husband-in-law. The definitive Deep Purple lineup. But behind the success, singer Ian Gillan and guitarist Ritchie Blackmore were at war. Their feud was so bitter that Gillan quit at the height of their fame, tired of Blackmore's ego and the endless touring. Miami, 1964. During their first American visit, the Beatles were prisoners of their own fame. This trip to a private beach was a rare escape, but even surrounded by police, the madness of Beatlemania was never far away. The Lizard King and his cosmic mate, Pamela Courson. Theirs was a famously intense relationship, full of passion and creativity. She was his ultimate muse and critic, deeply entwined with his life and art in ways that shaped his legacy. Carlos Santana in 1974. After his initial fame, he entered a deep spiritual phase, exploring jazz fusion. His record label hated the new, non-commercial music and thought it was career suicide. But Santana was following a higher calling. The Thunder from Down Under. This is John Bonham at Madison Square Garden, playing his legendary Amber Vistalite drum kit. He was one of the first rock drummers to use acrylic shells, creating that massive, booming sound that defined Led Zeppelin. Dire Straits, 1978. At the absolute peak of the punk rock explosion, their hit, Sultans of Swing, was a complete anomaly. Mark Knopfler's clean, virtuosic guitar playing was the antithesis of punk, but its sheer quality made them stars. This is Lemmy in 1973, the bassist for space rock band Hawkwind. He was fired 2 years later after getting into trouble on the Canadian border. On the plane ride home, he furiously wrote the song Motorhead, the blueprint for his legendary new band. This is the moment the Doors became legends of rebellion. Producers demanded they change the lyric, "Couldn't get much higher." The band agreed, then sang it anyway on live television, leading to a lifetime ban from the show. Bob Dylan in Paris, 1964. Chess was more than just a game to him. It was a strategy. This was taken at a legendary cafe where Napoleon once played, a fitting spot for a young genius already plotting his next move. The Byrds, pioneers of folk rock. On their 1965 breakthrough hit, an electric version of Mr. Tambourine Man, Roger McGuinn was the only bird who actually played. The rest of the music was performed by the legendary Wrecking Crew. Bon Scott, the ultimate frontman, in '76. To hone their electrifying live show, the band would play 2 gigs a night in Australia, an early show for the kids and a late show for the adults. This brutal schedule made them unstoppable. The voice of a generation, Chris Cornell. But before he was a rock god, he was a prankster who once famously shrink-wrapped Nirvana's entire drum set right before a show. Behind the intensity was a sharp wit and a deep love for his Seattle brothers. Mick Jagger at Hyde Park, 1969. This was not a celebration. It was a memorial. The show took place just 2 days after Brian Jones passed away, turning what was supposed to be a debut into a massive, emotional public tribute. Pearl Jam in 1992. The year their debut album, 10, made them unwilling superstars. Almost immediately, they began to rebel against their own fame, refusing to make music videos and launching their legendary and costly legal war against Ticketmaster. Tom Petty in Florida, 1982. A year earlier, this famously principled artist went to war with his own record label, refusing to release his album Hard Promises until they agreed not to raise the price on his fans by $1. CSNY, live in late 1969. Fresh off their legendary and terrifying second-ever gig at Woodstock, this tour solidified their status as superstars. The very day this concert took place, the band appeared on the cover of Rolling Stone for the first time. Two legends unite. This is from the recording session for their #1 hit, Ebony and Ivory. The song's simple message of racial harmony was so powerful, it was famously banned by the apartheid government in South Africa. Stevie Nicks, 1977. The year Rumors made them the biggest band in the world. The crystal ball on that famous album cover wasn't hers. It was a studio prop. But that one photo accidentally created her entire mystical white witch persona. The Doors take Germany in 1968. While they look calm here, this European tour was intense and unpredictable. At a show in Amsterdam, an exhausted Jim Morrison was unable to continue, forcing the band to perform much of the concert as a trio without their frontman. David Gilmour backstage during the Dark Side of the Moon tour. The album's suffocating success nearly broke the band and created a deep alienation in Roger Waters, planting the seeds for their next masterpiece, The Wall. The Singer and the Secret Weapon. Backstage in '73, Robert Plant with John Paul Jones. Jones was the quiet genius, the master arranger behind many of Zeppelin's most complex songs. Without him, there would be no Stairway to Heaven. The Disciple and his idol. While they look like old friends here, Keith's relationship with Chuck Berry was famously tense. During a later film shoot, Berry actually punched Keith in the face just for touching his guitar without permission. A quiet moment backstage for Queen in '77. Outside this room was one of the biggest stage shows on Earth, featuring a massive crown-shaped lighting rig that cost a fortune. It was pure spectacle, cementing their status as rock and roll royalty.